Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So,
How are you?
yeah. Saurabh, sir, are you there?
Yes.
Yeah. So, shall I begin, sir?
Yes. Start. Speaker, I think, joined.
Yeah. Yeah. Our speaker, Professor Ismail Agmani, has joined us. So, we will be soon be starting. Good afternoon, sir. Are you there, sir?
Yes, I am. Good
Yeah.
afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Yeah. So, fine. Finally, the day has come and we all are gathered here. So, let me just start the session. So, I will be starting the session with one note. Instead of worrying about what you cannot control, shift your energy to what you can create. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Today we are gathered here to witness a seminar program. Okay. It is going to be covered by Professor Ismail Agmani. So first of all, I would like to welcome Sir. And before starting, I would like to say a few words regarding Professor Agmani. So Professor Ismail Agmani is currently an associated with Symbiosis Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation as head of innovation and linkages. He is also the faculty member in the mechanical engineering and the head of the entrepreneurship cell at Symbiosis Institute of Technology. And you would like to know that the entrepreneurship promotion and innovation cell that he has established SIT in 2014 that has been awarded as the best e-cell at the national level multiple times by different various organizations like National Entrepreneurship Network, Dare to Complete, and by IIT Bombay. Prior to joining to Symbiosis, he was associated as a product design engineer with the leading design consulting firm at Pune. Professor Ismail has received multiple grants, which amount to a total of over 5 lakh from the DST, Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, to conduct entrepreneurship training programs for students, faculty, and aspiring women entrepreneurs. For his contribution towards promoting the spirit of entrepreneurship among youth, he was honored with the Most Influential Person of the India Award in Entrepreneurial Leadership category at HUM Foundation. Professor Ismail was selected as a faculty research fellow in strategic and innovation at Department of Management Studies, IIT Delhi in 2019. He is accredited as a master trainer for entrepreneurial motivation training by NIESBUD, Ministry of Self Skills and Development and Entrepreneurship, Government of India. He has also been trained and certified as Design Thinking Master Practitioner, UK, Design Thinking Facilitator, Innovation Learning in USA, and Six Sigma Black Belt, MSME Technology Development Center, Government of India. Professor Smile has keen interest in understanding human behavior and is also a certified neuro-linguistic programming master practitioner. Currently, he is pursuing PhD on design intervention for promotion of grassroots entrepreneurship at IIT Delhi. Professor Ismail has been actively engaged with the local and national startup ecosystem. He has been invited as a speaker or trainer and jury member for trainings, FDPs, and startup events by various reputed organizations like the IIT Bombay, University of Stirling, UAE campus, IIT Goa, VIT Vellore, Engineering Staff College of India, IIT Kharagpur, Entrepreneurs Organization, Gwalior Startup Network, Palmar Chamber of Commerce and LinkedIn Local Pune. So there are a lot of things, lot of achievement, lot of experience today we are going to witness. So with this note, I would like to warmly welcome Professor Ismail to this forum to address the students with his knowledge and wisdom. Please welcome, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much for the introduction and for inviting. And thank you, Dr. Saurav, as well. So I guess we have been interacting for quite some time now over emails and WhatsApp. And finally, uh, yes, so I see there are more than 160 students on this call, right? And that is interesting. On afternoon,
Yes, sir.
That
Lots
too
of
was probably,
students are there who are going. Yes.
yeah, that too probably what is almost the end of the semester, if I'm not wrong. And yeah, so happy to see that. I'm so happy to be a part of this event because I've been to the length and breadth of the country. As you just said, and one of my and kind of goals and interests is that wherever I can go. So I've been to that eastern part. Calcutta is one place where I've been for some personal work, but never been physically to campus. But and that was one city that was left in my list where I wanted to go and talk to the students. And so when they approached me and said, would you talk? I said, this is one city where I want to go. And I will come. Even if it is virtual, that's fine. So before we go ahead, I just want to see how many of us are active and alive, right? So can we have something in the chat box? I want all of you to type, all those participants who are actively listening and who haven't just logged in from their mobile phone and the phone is kept aside and they're doing something else. If you're active, if you're alive, right, can we have one innovative word in the chat box? Something creative, right? So I don't want a hello, hi, good morning, good afternoon. That's mundane, that's good. Can we have one word, just one word that's coming to your mind, something totally different? Let's see how many of you can type in the chat box quickly. Self-confidence, okay, interesting. What else? And we have 160 people over here. So even if 25% of you, and out of almost 25-30% are logged in, they are not here. The remaining 20% are logged in, they are in front of one screen and they have another laptop, another screen in front of them where they are attending some other meeting or something else. But even if 25% of you are actively listening, we should get at least 30 to 40 messages in the chat box. Yeah, there's something called something interesting. Personal skill development. Hello, Vado. I like the way the word hello is pronounced over there. Motivation. No new knowledge. Okay, interesting. Ankita is saying Ankita Roy. Oh, that reminds me of one of my students. She just graduated last year. Same thing. Dipanjan is saying be unique. Interesting. Cool. So I just wanted to see how many of you are actually active because otherwise it looks to me as if Sigma rule. Wow, interesting. I don't know why you type Sigma rule, but I could immediately I know that caught my attention because I teach a course of Six Sigma as well. So I'm a Six Sigma black belt as well. So that's the moment I type Sigma, I could relate to it. Web development, digital well-being, very important. Money, yes, it's all about money and everything, right? And money is not as bad as we kind of know we have made it to appear. So I was attending a workshop by Tony Robbins. Some of you might have heard of the guy Tony Robbins, one of the worlds or planets they call the most valuable, most popular, and most effective, most costly speakers, trainers, and personal development on the planet Earth. Tony Robbins is from USA. And in one of the workshops that I was attending virtually, he said that whoever said that money does not bring you happiness did not spend enough of it on good causes. Right. So the ways we look at that, otherwise, that's just a small minor way in the the way we look at things. And that is all this session is going to be all about. We're going to talk about innovation here, but then when I say innovation is not something, and I can see the always happy and smiling. Thank you so much. Interesting for self-respect. Sustainable, somebody's typing. So when we talk about innovation, normally we have this concept in our mind, okay, I have to come up with something very radical, something groundbreaking, something out of the world kind of thing. And while some innovations are like that, some innovations are radical. They change the entire industry, they change the entire paradigm of the domain in which those innovations appear. But not all innovations have to be like that. So there are certain innovations that are revolutionary, but then there are certain innovations that could be evolutionary as well. Right? And when I say evolutionary, that means radical improvement. So how do we as human beings evolve, right? And normally with this example that if let's say my body changes, the way I look, it changes. Of course, I don't look the way I used to look when I was 18, right? And I won't look the same way when I'm 10 years down the line. The color of your hair changes, no, and you start going, you are like 2 feet and then 3 feet and then 4 feet. So when did that happen? It did not happen in one day. Okay, then at night you slept, you were 3 feet 6 inches, and next morning you woke up, you were 4 feet 6 inches. It did not happen like that, right? So gradually, you did not even notice, but you are growing like probably 1 millimeter a week or 1 millimeter a fortnight, and gradually from that three, the small little baby, you grew up into somebody who's 5 feet or 6 feet tall.
Sir, I would like to add one point. I have read one quote, sir. So it
Yes.
was written like, day by day, we did not see any changes in us. But when we look back, like 1 week, 1 month,
Yes,
1 year back, then the things is totally different.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then when you look at it, if I ask you, when was the moment that you grew up, right? When was the moment that you became 5 feet? You don't know that. That is how evolution. Evolution does not happen is not revolutionary. So no, this it took us millions of years to adopt, no, to evolve from those microorganisms or whatever cellular organisms to what we are today, right? And so many generations of monkeys and apes and whatnot, millions of years. The same way, when we talk about innovation, innovation could also be evolutionary. Minor change, right? Small change. The example that I give about the thought process about money. Normally, we keep saying, money does not bring you happiness. We all grew up with that thought process. Right? If money cannot bring you, money can bring you car, but not comfort. Money can bring you house, but not home, and all those quotes we keep reading, right? But then that is what that's the day I realized why he's known as one of the most impactful personal development coaches on the world. Right? Just one line is said that money, whoever says money cannot bring you happiness has not spent enough of money in good causes. Right? If you go do something good with that money, do something for orphan children, do something good for old age people, do something good for the society, that money can also bring you happiness. Just a small shift. So that small shift is what I'm going to be focusing on next 30 minutes or so, whatever time I've got. So I intend to people, at least 15-20 minutes towards the end for Q&A session as well. So I'll wrap it up my discussion in 25 to 30 minutes, and then we have Q&A probably. And if there's some more time at that, probably I'll go further and add 1 or 2 points. Is that cool? But I'm so happy that we are seeing so many people responding over here, right? And I would like to have this momentum throughout the session. There's one more request. Okay. If I make a small request, how many of you are in a mood to grant me a small request? Just one wish. And I promise that's a wish that I'm not going to ask you for property. I'm not going to ask you for money. And I'm certainly not going to ask you for bitcoins. छोटी सी छोटा सा छोटी सी आशा वाली छोटी सी विश है. How many of you here are in the mood to grant that wish? ठीक है, I will even if not 100% promise, but I will consider granting you that wish. Just let me know in the chat box. Say yes. Come on, let's see. Kolkata. I hope you guys understand a little bit of Hindi as well, right? So देखते कोलकाता वालों का दिल कितना बड़ा होता है. Okay, 2, 3. Okay. Interesting. Good. Achha, इनमें से there are some people who actually want to grant the wish. There are others who are not sure. Should I not? But they are like, अच्छा ये बंदा भी हाँ बोल रहा है. There's 3 of my classmates say yes. So if this guy can say yes, why can't I? Right? Peer pressure works everywhere. Very good. So my small wish that I wanted to ask. I mean, there's some. Let me wait for 30 more seconds. There are a couple of more people who want to jump in. Okay, thank you. So we have Birbal, we have Rupa, we have who else is there? Shilpi, Shreya, Ankita, Suraj, Rituja. Interesting. So my small wish that you guys just agree to grant me is that in this online virtual world, it feels so kind of monotonous. I mean, not that the person on the screen, Suraj, that I see his face, right? I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. So, and Suraj is a smart person. Looks good, handsome, smart, handsome, very smiling, and very, very good personality. And not that I mind looking at him, but how long would I keep looking only at his face? Right. So if we could have, my wish is that I want the cameras on, so that I could at least feel that I'm talking to some human beings. I'm not talking to actual people who are alive on the other side. I'm not talking just to my webcam. Right? I don't know if you guys have noticed, I actually have 2 screens in front of me. So my presentation is on my laptop in that you can see on the camera, but I have logged in from my desktop over here. That's why I'm looking towards my left, because my desktop is left. So I can see you guys over there, and my webcam is on the 3rd place. So let me see how many of you can turn your cameras on quickly. And no, I don't expect you all of you to look like Salman Khan or Katrina. It's fine. If I can show my face, anybody else in the world. Unless of course, if anybody's getting married tomorrow, and you have all that mehndi or that turmeric and haldi you applied, or you're going to that pre-marriage customs and traditions. If you're into that zone, then don't turn your camera. We don't want to see you like that. Otherwise, let's see how many of you can. And of course, some of you may not be in a position. Some of you might be traveling. Some of you might be outside the home. I understand. At least 5-10 people. Nobody who granted me the wish is actually willing to grant it. And here I was starting to think, Kolkata, as they say, but So let me see how many people actually there. 1, 2, 3. How many people are actually running that we see? Wow, more than 25, 30 people. Yes. Acha. Okay. Even this guy also disappeared. Wow. It's ulta ho gaya. But can quickly at least even for 5-10 minutes again. I know it's difficult. Sometimes people don't want to turn the camera on. But when you turn the camera, you also feel like you're participating. I also feel that because otherwise it becomes kind of. And for me, this is like I do 3 to 4 talks a week on average, especially since this lockdown period. Earlier, I used to do once in a week or once in a fortnight because I had to go physically to the place. Now, since it's online, I can be sitting in my office and doing 4 talks in a day, right? Four back-to-back webinars, one after another. And it's more out of the same story, same content, same topics, themes around it. It kind of becomes boring. But at least you guys keep interacting. Yes, who is this? Ankita is here. Thank you so much, Ankita. If I had the superpower of teleporting, I would have teleported this energy bar to you right now. But unfortunately, I don't have the power of teleporting, so I'm going to eat this on your behalf, right? And you will feel good that I ate this. And by the way, this energy bar is coming to me all the way from Kolkata. Right? So this is manufactured and marketed from Kolkata. For those who don't know, this is called Natex, and the founder of this company, what's the name of the company? I keep forgetting the name. Deroni Foods Private Limited. His name is Devdatta Das or something, right? He's from Kolkata, and he's one of our students. And he has started this business based out of Kolkata. This is available on Amazon as well. If you guys are interested, I'm promoting this business also. Small innovation, nothing new, right? All that he has done is there's so many energy bars out in the market. This one is 100% organic, 100% natural, no preservatives, no preservatives, nothing artificial, no synthetics. That's why I prefer this over a lot of other competitors. So, and this guy does not come from the food industry. He does not come from the energy bar industry. He has no background in any kind of business. He learned making these energy bars in his home, experimented for 6 months with different combinations, different proportions, different ingredients, tested them in the lab, tested them for the taste, the feel, and all those things. And then finally came up with this one variant, and now he's working on multiple variants. Again, very simple example of innovation. So let's move quickly, since we already have one face on the screen. I can at least see, okay, that there are people. Sometimes I'm scared that these people have called me for a talk, but do they actually have participants, or is it just me and the organizers on the stage? So yeah, let's move quickly to the presentation. I hope you guys can see the presentation also. Okay. So before we go ahead, we're talking about innovation by design. That's my favorite area. Innovation is something that I'm talking about. That's my research. What is innovation? Right? That's one question that we need to answer. And innovation as such, there is no particular fixed answer to that. Right? There's no one fixed definition of innovation. If you go to Google and try to find out, or if you go to go and check some books, there are hundreds of definitions of innovations available out there. Right? And while all of them are correct, none of them is 100% correct, none of them is 100% wrong. So the definition that I like is, I put a couple of definitions on the slide over here. Again, they are not my definition. I picked it from some books. But these are the definitions that I found very, very, very relevant and very, very apt over there. The innovation is the implementation of a new or a significantly improved product, service, or process. Very important. Right? The definition itself says it should be totally new, or it could be old, an existing product or service, but with some significant improvements, right? Some changes, right? And it could be a product. Innovation could be a service. Innovation could also be a process. Very important concept. And then there comes the next blue word that creates value. Value for whom? For the business, right? So for business, if I'm running the business, it should create a value for my business. Or if I'm selling it to some other business, it should create value for the other business, or government, or the society. And as a society, it includes people at large, right? So whatever, if I'm new product, service, or process, or in one word, I can call it whatever new solution or improved solution that I'm coming up with, has to have some value. If there is no value in it, we don't call it innovation. Right? So that is the reason when a painter comes up with some very unique new kind of a painting, the world-class painter, the best of the best painting. If you design, let's say if I'm a painter, if I make a painting, right? You will call that painting as an art. You will call it's a creative painting, right? But you will not call this painting as an innovation, right? So that is very important. And a lot of time we come up with new ideas, new product services that they are new. Nobody has done it before. But if it is not adding any value, now what do I mean when I say adding value? Adding value could be either in terms of making the lives of people easier or making the lives of the people comfortable, prolonging or making some problems of their life go away, making them feel more happy, making probably, or it could be making them feel more comfortable, or it could be making them feel more loved, or it could be helping them save money, or it could be providing the same product service at a less cost, right? Or it could be the same product or service, but it with a better user friendliness, more user friendly, reducing the friction, increasing the speed of the work, same work done at a higher speed, less cost, and things like that. This is what providing value means, right? And another word, if you see, the implementation. Innovation is all about implementation. That is the difference between creativity and innovation. Creativity is something that's in my mind. I can be a super creative person, right? And I can come up with thousands of ideas in a day in my mind. Okay, I'll go to Mars and I'll do this there, and I'll go to Antarctica and I'll set up a restaurant there, and then I'll go to North Pole, and then I'll set up a zoo in the North Pole, and thousands of ideas I can have in one day. That's my creativity, right? But unless I actually implement those ideas, right, those ideas are of no use. I might have a very amazing idea to create a vaccine or a medicine for COVID-19, for example, right? I know, okay, I have studied Ayurveda, let's say hypothetically, and my grandfather taught me something. And I know that if I mix these two ingredients, right, and if I make a card or a potion out of it, it would help people, it would act as a COVID vaccine. Amazing creative idea about it. Unless I go out there, create that potion, create that medicine, create that card or powder, whatever it is it actually going to help anyone? No. So it's not an innovation as long as it's in my mind, right? Very important, and that's the distinction people miss. A lot of time when I go and talk to people, they're like, oh, I'm very innovative. I say, okay, well, what have you done? I got 15 ideas. I mean, have you implemented any of them? No. I mean, if you're not implemented, you are not an innovator. Call yourself a creative guy, call yourself a researcher if you want to, right? But don't call yourself an innovator if you're not implementing on those ideas. It's very, very important distinction I want to make. Right? So if you look at the top, innovation is nothing but the process of creating value from ideas. Getting value is creativity, and from ideas is that's the creativity part. Now, from moving from those ideas in the mind to actually coming up with some solution that will help people, that people will use, people will apply, people will benefit from. That is what innovation is all about. I hope that makes sense. And whatever the year of study you are in, you might be in your second year, you might be in your third year, you might be in your final year, right? And no matter whatever career path you choose, you might decide to become a startup guy, an entrepreneur. You might decide to go work with a pharma company or some biomedical company or some tech company, some medicine company, any company. You might decide to work as executive. You might start up your own business. You might want to go and work for some NGO. You might go and work for the government, right? You might want to go and become a teacher, trainer, faculty member, whatever you do, right? This ability of generating value from ideas is going to be important and is going to help you accelerate your journey on that path, whatever path you choose, and move through that journey at a faster rate as compared to a lot of your peers who do not have that capability to do. That is one of the reasons we keep talking about innovation so much. So I normally talk about entrepreneurship, but at the core of entrepreneurship and startups is also the ability to innovate, right? And the reason I focus more on innovation than entrepreneurship is because when you say entrepreneurship, it kind of restricts you to the business aspect. Okay, if I have to do a business, if I have to start a startup, then only this is of use to me. But if I don't want to have a business, I want to go and work for some company, then learning about entrepreneurship, studying about entrepreneurship, understanding entrepreneurship, having those skills of entrepreneurship, probably I don't want, because I don't want to start a business. But being an innovator, having a mindset of innovator, having the ability to innovate things, this is useful, and not just useful, but this now in today's is mandatory requirement, irrespective of what domain you are, irrespective of what company you work for, irrespective of which department you work for, irrespective of what hierarchy level in the corporate ladder you are employed. You might be the most junior, most trainee engineer, you might be the CEO of the company. All of us need to innovate, because there's one thing, let me tell you very clearly. If there's one word that is driving our lives today, There's one word that is dictating this. There's one word that is deciding the direction of our lives, how the world is moving, how the economy is moving, how the country is moving, where the planet is headed. That one word is innovation. If you look at your lives, and when you compare your life with the life of the generation that was before you, so the life generation of your parents, for example, the generation of your teachers, right? Those who are 40 plus, 50 plus now. And if you ask them, how did they used to study? They did not have WhatsApp to transfer their notes. They did not have YouTube to go and watch a YouTube video anytime they had any doubt about a topic which they probably skipped in the class or they did not understand in the class. Right? They did not have a Coursera or edX to sit at the comfort of their home and learn from the faculty members from the prestigious institute like Harvard, Stanford, and MIT, and all Boston, and all those teachers. Right? They did not even have PDFs. In fact, forget about your parent generation. I'm kind of very close to your generation. When I was doing my engineering, right, the only way I could get books was through the college library. And we used to get only 3 to 4 books at one time because we had the concept of PDF books was unheard of back then, right? So either you have a book from the library, you purchase second-hand or new book, or what you used to do was because the book is like 500 pages, 600 pages, and you hardly have to read 50, 60 pages from that one book, right? Because the syllabus is spread across multiple books. So you read 50 pages from this book and 10 pages from that book and 50 pages from that book. It's not economically affordable. It does not make economic sense to buy all those books. What we would do is we would go and have photocopy of those chapters from each book. Okay, this book number 1, the first chapter is good here, so I'll get a photocopy of this chapter from this book, and the second chapter I will get a photocopy of the other book, and then we used to have that spiral bind of the photocopy as books. That's the way we study. Today, if you see when I teach at my students, everything is in PDF. You have all the books in PDF, and then you have the summaries of the books, and then you have animated videos of the books on YouTube. Such a drastic change, right? When I was doing my MTech at NIT and Nagpur University, my professors when they did the PhD, right? Some of them did the PhD back in 80s. They had to actually go sit down in the library and read those printed journals. Right? And when they did not find, they wanted to understand more about the research, they actually had to travel to some other universities, right? Bigger, better, older universities, where the libraries were more rich, they had more documents, more journals, more access to more papers. And they would have to go there and read there the research and then come back. Today, when I'm doing my PhD, I sit in the comfort of my home at 12 in the night. All the times I have access to databases through my institute's login. I just log in and I can access any research paper published anywhere in the world, even 80 years ago, even 100 years ago. And I can download it. Right? And not just that, I can take a copy from that PDF and put it in the Word file of my paper. And of course, then I have to go and change the language and all. But the basic structure, I can dump it. Right? And they have reference management software like Mendeley and Zotero and others where I can just, every time I go research paper, I see in the browser, I click, it goes to my library by default. So that next time I don't have to look for the paper. Okay, last week I was going through this research paper. Where is that paper? I have that very structured, in a very structured way in my library. What is this? This entire thing that you see in just one domain I'm talking about, how we study and how we do research. You see, there are dozens of innovations that have happened. Mainly in innovation, the way these online databases, online journals, online indexing, then the bibliometric databases, everything is an innovation in itself. And that has changed the way we work, right? Then if you forget about, we don't have to go much far away. The platform that I'm using to communicate with you right now, Zoom. Right? 10 years ago, Zoom did not exist. Right? 10 years ago, if you had to talk to somebody like this and see the other person, the only option probably was Skype. And that was Skype also had limitations for free. If you had needed longer time or more people, I used to have a paid plan for Skype. And look where we are today. The reason I'm able to conduct this class so in such a way, the presentation, this was not possible on Skype. Right? Now this is possible because of the innovation called online teaching platforms. So one word that's driving our entire economy countries, it is innovation. And if we don't understand that, if we don't get into the bus, right, then we have no right, tomorrow, if we left behind, don't go and complain about your college, don't go and complain about your teachers, about your management, about your state, about your district, about your chief minister, about your prime minister, about your country, about your country, about your region. That this is because I'm in India, so I'm not doing well, or I'm studying from this college, or I'm in Kolkata, or I'm this state, or you're missing the bus of innovation, you are responsible. Right? So Okay, just for sake of, I'll skip that one slide. I'll just go back to the slide just to show you, right? So again, this is the thought I just put to you know, just a fun fact that I like to put, that between 1600 and 1400 and 1600 AD century, right? The concept of innovation, it's actually the word innovation was a symbol for rebellion and revolt. Right? And now today, if you look at innovation as a very positive word, but 400 years ago, somebody said innovation, people used to look at him, he's a rebel guy. And if you look at it, even today, to some extent, what is innovation? Innovation is about doing something that nobody else has done. Right? Because if people have already done that, and you're doing it, then it's not innovation. Right? So by the very definition, innovation means that I'm trying to do something, even if it's just 0.1% different from what anybody else has ever done in the past. When I'm trying to do something different, right? It's natural that there's a resistance. There's internal resistance from my own psychology. There's a lot of workshop that I do. We talk about how do you break those psychological barriers and all. But there is a what would you say? Internal resistance from my own psyche, from my own mindset, from my own limiting beliefs. There's an external resistance from the community, from the society, from the world, from the company where you're working, right? Because even those people don't want to see you doing something different. And the reason I take the psychological reason behind this is that we as human beings, when we grew up, when the evolving, when we used to live in those stone ages and metal ages and caves and all those things, we did not have enough understanding of who's our friend or who's our enemy. Right? Human beings used to stay together in caves and in kind of big groups, and so to protect themselves from animals, wild animals. Right? And how would they understand that something is a danger, that a lion coming is a danger, but a two-legged another human being that I've never seen in my life before, that person is not a danger. So the mind was programmed to see that anything or anybody who looks unfamiliar is a danger. Right? So the person is coming I see somebody coming from 50 feet. He has also two feet, two hands, has a face like me, has a hair, and is standing walking on 2 feet. Now he's similar to me, right? He looks familiar. Okay, he's not a threat. But somebody says there's a creature coming on 4 legs, there's a creature coming on 3 legs, and it's different kind of a hair, different kind of a skin color, probably has a tail and things like that. That's the danger. So that part is still there in our mind somewhere. So the moment somebody tries to do something differently, something that is unfamiliar, that old, we call it reptilian brain also, that part of the brain gets triggered. And people around you start feeling uncomfortable that this guy is doing something new. So that million-year-old brain that we still carry with us looks at it as a signal of danger. And that's why they both think when you try to do something new, people try to pull you that way. And even the best of the people who wish the best for you, your friends, family, your colleagues, they don't do it intentionally. They don't want to cause you harm. Right? But they'll come and say, I'm telling you for the good, stop this madness. What is this? What are you doing? Why you're trying this? This startup thing you're trying to innovate on this project. It's not going to work. And I'm telling you for your good. And they really believe it. The irony is that they actually believe it, that by stopping you from doing something different, by stopping you from doing those crazy things, they think that they're doing you a service. But actually they're doing you a disservice. Right? Next, another important point in the entire journey I want to talk about is when we talk about innovation, right? What comes to our mind is a product, some kind of product. So I just have a new, just to show you example. Luckily, you guys are the first set that I'm showing this example because I got this mouse just yesterday evening. Right? If you see, I got a wireless mouse in my hand. You guys can see this, right? And this mouse connects to my laptop and my desktop without any wire. Okay? Now, this is a new product. Right? So, or you have a new mobile phone. I got a Bluetooth earphones here, Bluetooth eardrum, right? Earpods. Innovation. iPhone innovation. MacBook innovation. So when we talk about innovation, usually what comes to mind is a product. So that is just one aspect, one chapter of innovation, the story of innovation, right? There are more other types of innovation as well. So innovation is not necessarily always in product. Innovation could be in service, right? For example, if you look at Amazon, you look at Book My Show, you look at Big Basket. These people are not giving you any new product. Amazon is not providing you anything new that's not available in the market. It's selling you exactly the same thing that is already available in the market. So what is the innovation Amazon? No new products. Service they have innovated. And they have innovated the way they are serving. So in the COVID times, when all this social distancing and this infection, and the virus phobia was there so much. Now, kind of you overcome it. So I think Amazon was the first company, if I'm not wrong, or Big Basket. They came up with this concept called contactless delivery. Right? And then everybody else followed and copied them. What was that? Contactless delivery. Okay, our delivery person will come, he will just press the bell and he will leave your parcel at the door and he will go. Right? So that by the time you open the door and come, that guy is gone. So you don't interact with him. You don't have any risk of catching COVID from him, even if he is COVID positive. Right? What was that? That was innovation in the way you are serving the customer service innovation. Right? Most of the innovation that happened in the education industry, the way we teach, the way we evaluate, the way we have this project-based learning, problem-based learning, experiential learning, industrial visit, and all those things. What are these? These are innovations in the process of teaching learning. Right? The final product remains the same. Final knowledge that you're getting is the same. The syllabus is the same across the world. Why do then some universities have such high rankings and they produce better professionals than others? Right? And normally say that if you go to MBA from a very unknown, very local, very hut kind of slum kind of a MBA college on the roadside of Kolkata that runs out of a 2 BHK flat, probably, right? If you do it, but if it is recognized by university, if it's following a standard syllabus and all, if you do MBA from there, or you do MBA from IIM Ahmedabad, when you study marketing, there's only one person you're going to refer to, that is Philip Kotler. Right? Now, whether you're studying from IIM Ahmedabad or you're studying from that roadside college, marketing, you're going to read Philip Kotler's book. I study from there. Basics of management, fundamentals, you're going to read Peter Drucker and you're going to study from there. Then what makes the difference? That guy on the roadside college in Kolkata is also studying from Philip Kotler about marketing. The guy in the IIM Ahmedabad campus also, he's learning the strategies and tools and techniques and concepts of marketing from Philip Kotler's book only. Right? Then what is the difference that the guy sitting in the IIM Ahmedabad gets to know? His starting packages goes like 50 lakhs, 70 lakhs per crores. And this guy would struggle for even a 15,000 per month job after his MBA. Or hardly get 15 to 20,000 rupees, right? Both of them are studied from the same book. Curriculum is same. If you pick up the syllabus of Indian universities, any university you pick up in India in a particular domain, if I come from engineering background, you pick up any engineering college in the country and any subject, right? And you compare it with the best engineering college in the country with IITs or the BITS Pilani or some DTU or universities like that, you will see that the syllabus is 80% same. The books referred are 80% same. The content is same. The way, the number of marks, the number of hours is 80% the same. Then why is there so much of variation? Right? It's because of the process, not because of the product. The way this teaching learning is carried out in IIM Ahmedabad is way much more innovative. They have innovated on that. Right? This roadside college has not. Still following the traditional teaching learning approach, where the teacher goes into the class, writes on the board, reads from the textbook, gives some theory knowledge, and gives some assignments, and that's it. Whereas in IIM Ahmedabad, probably the same teacher does not go to the class. Right? He does not even take all the lectures. He just throws some practical challenge at the students and says, okay, you go out, work on this, and wherever if it's a challenge, here's Philip Kotler's book, read the book, apply it, come back to me. What is this? Innovation in the process. Right? And that makes all the difference. Then there could be innovation in the market as well. The innovation in the market is basically that there is a product or service there's another word for this called imitating entrepreneurship or imitating innovations also. That the innovation exists somewhere out there in some other market, but in a particular another geography, another market, it has not been used yet, and you just bring it over there. So if you look at the Flipkart, right? Flipkart is not the totally new idea. Flipkart was a what? Copy paste of Amazon. Ola is a copy paste of Uber. Big Basket is a copy paste of some other similar company in the US, right? So all the companies you see, they're not totally new to the word idea. Somebody was already having this no taxi cab service name by the name of Uber in USA. Ola just copied it. Amazon was already doing selling online products in USA. Flipkart just happened to copy it. But of course, when you copy it, you cannot just do copy paste. You have to tailor it. You have to customize it to the local needs, right? So when Ola came to India, right, they added Ola Auto. Because they realized that there are probably 3 to 5 times or maybe 10 times more auto rickshaws on Indian roads than there are the number of taxis. Taxis you will find only in metro cities rather than in India, right? Mostly. Go to Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, Chennai, Kolkata, you'll find it. But if you go to tier 2, 3 town in India, district places, You didn't have taxi services there. It was only auto rickshaws. Now Ola realized this, and they were the first. Even though Ola copied the entire business model from Uber, Ola was the first to bring in Ola Auto, and then the Uber, when they came to India, they copied Uber Auto from Ola. Right. So that customization will always be required, but the idea is that is what market innovation is. Again, there's no new product, there's no new process. Somebody's already doing something. So the very easy way to do that, if you want to go with business, you want to start a business, the easiest way is look what's happening outside the country. Or maybe look at what's happening outside Kolkata, or what is the one service that is available only in Delhi, Mumbai, but not available in Kolkata. And can I bring that service to Kolkata? Good opportunity. Right? Then it's about supply source. How do I change supply source? Is basically, you look at a different source of supply or you totally change the raw material. So all this, we're talking about the non-renewable energy sources, right? You're talking about solar energy, you're talking of shifting from IC engines to electric vehicles, right? What are you doing? You're basically changing the source of the energy. You're changing the source of raw material, right? Earlier you used to have, let's say, all this metallic sofas and metallic furniture, and then you started having them in plastic, and now you have wood, and then you have bamboo furniture, and again within bamboo you have different materials. So the furniture remains the same, the overall design remains the same, the product remains, the chair is a chair, a table is a table, right? But instead of a iron frame, now you have wooden frame, which is probably lightweight, more economical, more sustainable, and people like it also. Right? So that could also be one way of innovating. The last way is more about the business side. You change the way the industry works. Every industry has a way in which it works, right? When I say industry is basically a group of companies that operate in a similar domain, right? So automobile industry is a combination of Tata Motors, General Motors, Ford, Mahindra, Volvo, and all these companies, Honda, and all these companies that make automobiles. This company are a part of the industry called automobile industry, right? Education industry, all the universities together form the education industry. So IT industry, all the IT companies, Cognizant, TCS, Infosys, and all the very small and big companies across the country, individual companies operating in the domain of IT form the IT industry. Now, every industry has its own way of operating. Then, typically they operate in a predetermined way. For example, if you look at the pharmaceutical industry, right? How do they reach out? The pharmaceutical industry never reaches out to the patients directly. Have you ever seen a pharma company putting advertisement in the newspaper saying, okay, we have a new medicine for fever, cough, and cold, or flu? Right? Have you seen any pharmaceutical, any Bollywood actor coming on the screen and advertising about some kind of, I don't know, antibiotic? You talk about azithromycin, you talk about a lot of, I don't remember the names, but there are so many antibiotics, standard antibiotic drugs that we use, right? Paracetamol, for example, you never see anybody coming, right? Because even though you are the consumers, you are the patient, we eat those medicines, right? But they don't come to us. Who do they go to? They go to the medical stores and they go to the doctors. The medical representatives, the MR, what we call as pharmaceutical industry, the MRs don't come to you door to door. They don't sell the medicines to you directly door to door. They go and convince the doctors to write those medicines. And then they go and convince the medical stores to keep those medicines in their store. Because they know if we can target, if the doctors prescribe it, and the medical store keeps it, the patient has no other option but to buy it. So why should we go to the patient directly, right? Because if the number of patients compared to the number of doctors and number of medical stores is too high. So rather than reaching such 120 crore patients, it's easy for them to reach like 50 lakh or 1 crore medical stores and doctors. So that's the way the pharmaceutical industry has been working. Every company that comes into that industry applies the same logic. My brother is a pharmacist, so I know how they work, right? The same way. You go to the doctors, you convince that there's a new drug, that they should prescribe this for this kind of symptoms. And then you go to the medical stores, and then you give a lot of gifts to the doctors as well. You give a lot of margin and profit and gifts to the medical stores as well. That's the way the industry works. Now, if you want to change the way that industry works, I don't know, probably can we directly reach out to the customers. So some part of the pharmaceutical industry, not exactly pharmaceutical industry, but the medical devices, you may call it, or medical equipment industry has changed. So earlier, if you see, all the blood pressure monitoring equipment was sold only to doctors. Because if I had a BP issue, I would go to a doctor, and then the doctor would measure my blood pressure and tell me, okay, whether I'm having high blood pressure, low blood pressure is within the limits or not. But then came a company who said, why should I only reach out to the doctors? Why can't I reach out to the patients? Now the patients directly cannot have that complex mercury-based blood pressure machine that you see with the doctor, right? It's like a long, big piece of equipment that they use and very heavy. We as users don't want that. So they came up with electronic, very small, compact. It's as compact as a small bowl in the kitchen, and weighs less than like 100 or 200 gram plastic electronic blood pressure measure. And I have got it in my house because my mother has a big issue. It does not provide you accurate reading, by the way, right? 90% accuracy. If it says 120, you might be at 130, you might be at 110, but it still gives you a good rate. You don't have to go to doctor every day. Okay? What are they doing? Changing the way the industry is working. Rather than directly selling only to the doctors, selling it directly to the patients. So those could also be opportunities for innovation, right? This we already talked about, right? What is incremental radical innovation? Incremental innovation is, that I already have some knowledge, some existing resources in the company, in the business, and then I keep making smaller changes. Radical is where I bring in new resources, new knowledge, new patents, new IP, come up with something very, very amazing. Now, what happens in the incremental way is, relatively small changes, whereas in radical, there are steep changes, not step changes, steep changes, right? But if you look at any company, incremental innovations are like 60 to 70% of the revenue bringing innovations. Even a company like Apple, Apple is known as one of the most innovative companies in the world. Apple does not launch a new product every month, every 6 months, or every year or so. Right? They launch iPhone, and for past 10 years, what are they doing? iPhone 1, iPhone 2, iPhone 3, iPhone 4, iPhone 5. What is this? So this one iPhone to another is not a new innovation, it's just an incremental innovation. What's happening? Just the camera megapixels is increasing, the screen size is increasing or decreasing, the screen quality is decreasing, memory is increasing. Those are incremental things. But the phone is still the phone. Right? Probably they will come up with an innovation when they come up with something like something like this that I can hold in my palm and I could totally keep it in my palm without having to have it in my pocket. That would be new product. So even Apple does not come up with radical innovations every year. Still, it is the most innovative company. Right? Now, quick examples, since I know sometimes. So quick examples of when we talk about how do we innovate using design. So when I say innovate by design, it's basically how do designers look at the world of innovation. Right? And I work in the design firm also. As designers, people who are trained in design, they do their masters in design, bachelors in design, PhDs in design. So very important aspect of innovating like a designer is the concept of empathy, the concept of understanding your end users, right? Feeling their pain, walking into the shoes, knowing what they want, and then innovating from their needs, not innovating from what we want. That is what Apple does very well. The reason Apple is so successful is because Apple understands the users better than any of its competitors. Most of these competitors, they create their phones, their laptops, their computers based on how they want to launch the product. Apple creates products and services based on how we want it. So there was a group of students in Stanford almost a decade ago, and they were given this project. They said that in a lot of developing countries, a lot of premature babies die because they don't have access to this baby incubators, which cost like $2,000, and not every hospital in small towns in developing countries has access to it. And that incubator is something is a box kind of a structure that helps those babies maintain the body temperature, because when they are born premature, their internal mechanism is not so developed that they can maintain the body temperature. So this heated box has them for a month or two till the time they develop their internal mechanism. It keeps them heated so that they stay alive. But in developing countries like African countries, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Bhutan, and this like that, they say that this incubators are very costly, 2 lakhs and 3 lakhs like that. So not every small hospital, small town has access to those incubators, and so the babies die. So let us create a small, low-cost incubator. And they started designing it. Now, what would they do? How do we create a low-cost incubator? If it's costing $2,000, what will you do? You'll reduce some unnecessary functions. You'll use cheaper material. You will go for economies of scale. You'll use cheaper labor, cheaper manufacturing process. But at the max, what will you be able to do? $2,000 is the cost for the company that's already in the market producing it on a mass level. Right? If they're selling it for 2,000, at the max, you'll be able to bring it down to $1,500, $1,200, not below that. What these people did was they said, okay, let's go and understand what the actual problem is. And one of the students flew all the way from Stanford to Kathmandu, in fact, a small place near Kathmandu, Nepal. And he observed there. And when he went to the hospital, he was surprised because he saw that in that hospital, there were like 20, 30 baby incubators lying unused. And then he goes to the doctor and said, I came all the way from Stanford thinking that in places like this, Nepal and small towns, right, you don't have those incubators. That's why babies die. But I see there are so many incubators lying vacant, there's no babies, right? And yet you are telling that so many immature babies die. I said, yes. How is it possible? And he says, okay, the reason these babies die is not because we do not have incubators. Thanks to a lot of charity organizations, thanks to a lot of philanthropy organizations, right, and CSR fund, we do get access to some of these incubators. We can buy them. But the real problem is that most of these premature babies that die here, they do not die because of the lack of incubator. They die because they are not born in the hospital. They are born in the house in a small village, 30, 40 kilometers from the hospitals. And the reason for that they were like, but why are they born there? So we don't know. But they don't bring the mother to the hospital for delivery. Right? And by the time the delivery is done and the child is born, and the local people who are not doctors, they understand the problem, right? And in a day or two, and then they bring the child here. There's no public transport. By the time the child comes to the hospital and could be put in incubator, the child is already dead. So the death happens before even they get access to it. They went to the village again, and he talked to the villagers, and he found out the villagers, they believe in a custom and a tradition that a child has to be born in its own family home. It's not a good omen. It's not a good sign, right, for the child to be born in the hospital or some other place other than the home of its parents. So no matter how risky it is, they would never let the lady go to the hospital for the delivery. Delivery has to happen. So that is when they said that's the problem. Then we don't want to build a low-cost incubator. Because even if you build a $500 incubator, this child is still going to die. It will still not reach the hospital. So can we create, instead of creating the incubator now, they said, let's create a very low-cost device, anything that helps the child survive, the baby survive, at least as long as it gets to the hospital. And they came up with what they call the embrace baby warmer that you see in the image. Right? It's just a baby warm bag. You wrap it around the baby and it keeps the baby hot. You know, in the sense, it keeps the temperature is maintained. And again, this is not supposed to replace that incubator in the hospital. It cannot do the incubator's job, but it can support the baby for 2-3 days till the time the baby reaches the hospital. Right? And then they are using that in the past 10 years or so. Small innovation, right? Nothing very high-tech in this. In fact, they replaced the high-tech technology with something very simple. But they have saved millions of lives of millions of babies in the past few years just by this small observation. So that is what we want to look at from that perspective. How do we, as uh, as people with proper knowledge, proper educated people, how do we apply our understanding for something that has the masses at large? So yeah, the product is called. I don't know which product is that. Right? But anyways, so that was it. I had a couple of more examples, but I just noticed that we are already at 3 p.m. Because since we started a little bit late, we started to skip those slides. If there are any questions, feel free to take that. Otherwise, if you want, there was a video on my last slide that I skipped. I can probably show the video at the end. If there are
Okay, that was really an interesting session, sir. Yeah. So students, do you have any questions? You can type in the mailbox, or you can even unmute yourself and can ask from sir directly. Students, are you there?
well, if there are no questions, that means either this was a very highly innovative session.
Yeah, it was interesting.
So unfamiliar that they don't know what to ask. Or it
Yeah,
was so familiar that they know कि सारा पता था what to ask.
Yes, sir. We are there, but actually, sir, some of us joined mid webinar. So because we had classes, so it was we had a bit of a problem in catching up. But the last portion I really liked about the iPhone example from sir,
Okay.
like the incremental that thing, sir.
Okay, that's great. There is one question, sir, which is asked by Ronit. Sir, what is the future of artificial intelligence?
Well, so I don't know. The future, obviously, we know that the world is going to be controlled by AI, like it or not, right? But the way the speed at which AI is progressing, like it or not, but my concern as somebody who comes from the design background is that we and then also come from the human value background. we need to put a check. So unless the artificial intelligence is also trained to understand the human emotions and the value system, and unless that AI system is designed from the point of view of understanding the actual need, the way in the baby warmer example, for example, I told you, if they had just sat in the Stanford lab and designed $1,000 or $200 low cost incubator, it would still not have saved the lives of those babies that were dying already out there. But because they understood the actual problem and they designed the product, it actually helped. So the AI also, today I see a lot of startup events, like was a jury member also. People are developing AI products just because they have studied AI. They have done a course from Coursera, Andrew Ng का course किया, किसी कुछ course किया, study something about AI. They have done a couple of projects. They know some 3-4 algorithms and techniques of AI, clustering and all those. And now they want to do something. So, but if that's the case, there is no scope. But if you really understand some problem, and if you feel, okay, this is the problem where AI can actually add some value, and then you use AI to solve that problem, then yes, that scope will always grow.
Any other questions? Okay. So you in between you have mentioned that the world is shifting to the electric vehicle and all. So recently I want to add there, or maybe like recently there was a COP meeting by our Prime Minister. He has gone to the European nations. So our target is to go for a net zero. So most probably the fuel thing, everything is going to be shifted to the nuclear powered thing, I guess.
And
So,
that's such a huge opportunity. In fact,
yeah,
where I work, we have a couple of startups that are already working on that. There's a startup and they started back in 2018, 19, 17, 18 actually. They started working on a technology for fast charging of electric vehicles. And back then we used to ask, where are the electric vehicles? They're coming in 5 years. And we're going to take 3 to 4 years to develop this technology. So we want to be the first mover by the time they come. And now they're already at a level where they have the prototype ready after 3 years of research. And now there are other companies that are now getting into the domain. They will come up after 3 years. By the time these guys will have the head start.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, sir. It was really an interactive session. So last but not the least, I would like to call upon the stage on the forum, Dr. Bitasta Mandal ma'am. So she will be giving the vote of thanks. Over to you, ma'am. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Suraj. So it was really a very brief and informative session from sir. So now we would like to present the certificate of gratitude to our respected speaker. So if you allow me just 1 minute so that I can share the screen with all of you. All right. Sir, is the screen visible to you?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So, sir, this is our small, like a token of gratitude from our side to you for an interactive session with our students. So, we are again very much thankful to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Okay. So now the time to conclude this session. So I would like to thank our for this interactive session. Yeah, all the participants are supposed to mute themselves during the talk because it definitely creates a disturbance. So please keep this in mind. So we are here towards the end of the session. So I would like to thank our respected speaker for this erudite talk today. Now, also, I would like to thank the organizing committee for bringing up with this idea of conducting this webinar on today. Then next, I would also like to thank our HOD sir for his motivation to come up with those types of events. And lastly, I would like to thank our respected Dean sir for always his constant support and motivation. So with this, we come to the conclusion of this session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, and all the best to everybody. Hope we see a lot of innovations coming up.
Yeah. We also hope that your knowledge and wisdom will be utilized by all the students. Maybe we can produce few more entrepreneurs from our university. As I'm also taking some venture ideation classes and entrepreneurship, I am also involved in. So I have learned many things from you, and I will utilize this opportunity to incorporate it when I am teaching and during the learning process. Yeah. So it was a great session. Thank you so much, sir, for joining with us. Yeah. Okay, students, you can leave the meeting. Thank you for joining. We will be meeting in our next session. Yeah.